Hello, my name is TJR,
My name is Robert Kinsler.
and so we got a topic here we're going to talk about and just see where this goes. And our topic is movie criticism versus music criticism. Now, I found out today that prior to writing as a music critic, when you were for the Register, you were previously had worked as a movie critic.
Well, actually, let's go back when I was at Cal State Fullerton.
Oh, okay.
I wrote movie reviews.
Oh, okay.
I covered movies and music, but I did a movie called Kinsler Scope about movies. So, and then at the Register, I did a weekly column for a while where I would go to movies every week. I would write a little bit about the movie, but then I would interview fans about the movie.
Oh, okay.
So I had my foot in both doors, but pretty soon it worked out with, I was just going to so many concerts and playing in bands and stuff, being a musician, just kind of that's the direction things went, but it is interesting, when you brought up this topic, I like the idea of it though.
Now myself personally, of course on our old channel, we had done one or two episodes where we talked about music movies. We brought in DVDs and we talked about different music movies and discussed them at some length, and we've done that a few times. And earlier on this new channel, I have done a couple of music movie reviews. I'd like to get back to that. Haven't been able to, but would like to get back to that, where I've just talked about music-related motion pictures. But they've been mostly documentaries. I think there was one drama that was music-related. But I think what I want to talk about is the differences between criticizing them. And when I say criticizing, I don't mean saying negative things. I mean critical analysis, taking it apart, discussing it. Criticism can be positive too, as well. And of course, on Music Worth Buying, we feel we don't have enough time to talk about what we think is not good. We're only talking about what we think is good. When we're on the show together, we're talking about what we're excited about because we really want to just kind of spread the word. What do you think is easier?
Easier or harder? I'd say with movies, you can watch a film once, and I think that if you're educated somewhat about films and film history and stuff, I think you could probably write a pretty good review of it. I mean, if you could see the film more than once, I think it might help you. But whereas music, I think you have to listen to a recording multiple times, I think, to really get at all the layers. But I don't know if that's just me, if you feel like that too. But I know a lot of music reviewers, ones that I'd say are try to be fair-minded and stuff, will try to listen to recording at least 3 times. That's kind of a test usually, because sometimes you might not get it. Maybe your emotions that day aren't in tune. Whereas when it comes to films, I think sometimes, excuse me, you're a critic, you see it one time, and then you got to write a review.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I've often said, got to hear an album at least 3 times in order to talk about it. And not so with the motion picture. I think even if you're not, educated about film or, story structure, that sort of thing, you can still watch a movie and get it the first time, by and large. There are a few movies that don't work that way. And there are some movies that your appreciation deepens as you watch it multiple times. But I think, by and large, 99.9% of the time, you watch a movie, even if you're not educated on film criticism or any of that, you watch a film, by the end of it, I liked it, I didn't like it.
Exactly.
But with music, you really can't say that. And I think the sad thing is too many people put on music they've never heard before, and they try to make a decision right then and there.
Right.
And what's funny, they don't make a decision about a film that's, say, an hour and a half to 2 hours long until it's done. But I've seen people start to play a song and decide before the chorus even if they like it or not.
Right. Oh yeah. Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'm stunned by that.
Yeah.
You haven't even heard the song yet.
I mean, and of course we don't take that. We listen to all kinds of things, but think about it. See, someone doesn't say, "Oh, I only go see comedies," or "I only go see science fiction," "I only see fantasy."
Yeah.
But some people are like, "Oh, I only listen to rock. I only listen to country. I only listen to reggae," and it's like, really? I mean, that's one thing about the two worlds that's very, I've always kind of been puzzled by that, and it's and you're not the first one I've told that to, and some people have said, yeah, you're right, I don't kind of get that, why you would only listen to one kind of music, I only listen to rap, or I only listen to classical. There's good to be found in everything, and a lot of times it's just kind of getting yourself in the mood, like, hey, I'm gonna immerse myself in this and see what I can get out of it,
And I can speak from experience. There was a time when I had more musical prejudices when I was younger. And I used to say, oh, I don't like rock and roll from the 50s, you know.
Yeah.
I used to say, oh, I don't like country music,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Uh-huh.
But as I began exploring musical history, as I took on this gig, started listening to more things,
Uh-huh.
those prejudices broke
Yeah,
down.
they broke down, yeah.
You know, I do occasionally hear people say, oh, I'm not into Westerns, but I did like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And I do hear that. But I think what happens is sometimes with music we hear certain sounds that we don't like for a certain genre, and then we decide we don't like anything in that genre.
Yeah.
I knew a girl, she didn't like anything that had heavy guitars. And I'm playing the opening of Death on Two Legs by Queen. And it starts with that little piano opening, that little classical piano opening. Oh, this sounds really good, she said. And then suddenly the Brian May's electric guitar started to come in. Oh wait, maybe I don't like this. Maybe I don't like this, she said. And literally, she was changing her mind
Yeah.
every 10 seconds.
On the fly, yeah.
Then the piano just came in with a vocal. Oh, I do like this. I do like this. Then the heavy guitars came in. Oh wait, no, I don't like this. And she was, and I said to her, "Would you finish the damn song?
Hey.
Would you just let the song finish before you make up your mind?" You know, and I've seen that with music, but I think. We're kind of getting a little bit off the track. I think
Yeah.
this is an interesting thing how people
Yeah.
respond to music.
Right, exactly.
How they let certain
But
prejudices.
you want to get more at like about the criticism itself, like what like which one's more difficult, how are they alike, how are they different,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I know for me, you know, racking back a little bit when I was doing movie reviews and stuff, you know, what I will recall is like with a like when it came to doing a movie review, the studio would send us notes on the movie, you know, the cast. So you did do some research before you went, you know. And I think in music that's helpful as well. But I think of music, at least for me at this point in my life, there's that kind of like, do you respond to it emotionally? There's also the things we've been talking about, like, hey, let's be open-minded. Let's see what's going on here. Let's see maybe what's going on in the artist's life, that maybe they were writing about this or that, or maybe what their technical skills are on their instrument. There's all kinds of things that go into it. But I don't know if I'd put the amount of preparation into like each album that I listen to. I don't think I really have the time. Whereas opposed to when you're doing movie reviews, maybe you're seeing just a couple a week. But you know, I'm trying to get through much music as I can for album reviews. But also, let's say if I'm going to be reviewing a show live, then I'm having to go back into the back catalog, listen to a little bit of the artist, and be informed that way too. So there's different challenges with each. You know,
I think one of the differences is that with film, you have this thing called story structure. You know, you've got. I mean, there is such a thing as song structure as well. Although I think most people, I don't know if how many people are actually aware of story structure. I mean, you could say beginning, middle, end. Of
Yeah,
course, every
yeah.
song has a beginning, middle, end too.
Yeah.
But there are aspects to story structure. You know, you have your protagonist, you have your antagonist, you have your story arc. You have a story arc. You sometimes have a character arc. Sometimes you have multiple character
Right.
arcs. You know, does the story make sense? Songs, however, they have structures too. I mean, you can have introduction, verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus. You can have a song that begins with chorus, like "Can't Buy Me Love" begins with chorus, then
Yeah.
goes to verse. You know, you can switch things around. You can have a song without a repeating chorus. But the thing is lyrically, a story, by and large, there are some abstract films, but by and large, a story has to make sense. In music, lyrics don't necessarily have to make sense.
No,
do
they don't. They don't.
So, do you judge it on that criteria?
Yeah, yeah.
You can't really.
You
I don't
can't
think.
really, yeah. Especially if you're reviewing things where it's either in a foreign language or, you know, you're not going to be putting on surtitles there while the music's going. I mean, you can do that. You can read what the song's about, but I mean, there are similarities and there's very much differences.
Yeah.
You know.
It's a funny thing you brought up the languages. I knew ages ago this one lady friend of mine. She spoke Spanish, and she had some. I guess she was met some people in Mexico who asked her to please translate "Yesterday" by the Beatles for her. They had loved the song for years. They didn't speak any English. They didn't
Right.
know any English. They'd loved the song for years. They never knew what it was being sung.
Oh, wow.
What they liked about it was the melody.
Yeah.
Just the
Yeah.
melody itself was
Yeah.
beautiful enough, was ear-catching enough that they listened to it, loved the song, sang along to it probably without even knowing
Yeah.
knowing what, sang "Yesterday"
Yeah.
without even knowing the words. So they asked her, "Can you translate 'Yesterday'
Yeah.
for us?" So she translated "Yesterday," what the words
Yeah.
were about, so that they could
Yeah,
understand.
you
what the
don't
words were
have.
about.
I mean, there are, Sigur Rós, that Icelandic band that I love
Yeah.
so much. I don't know anything that Yonsei's singing, but I just respond to the music, and it's very symphonic, and it brings forth all these emotions and stuff, even without knowing what he's singing about. It's amazing, but music can do that. It's very, and that, whereas let's say when it comes to film, it's going to be very, very helpful to understand the language and what's being said.
Well, yeah, you have to. You can't follow the story.
Yeah, you can't follow the story. So in that way, those two things are worlds apart.
And I think it's an interesting thing. David Lynch, probably my all-time favorite filmmaker, deals a lot in the language of dreams in his films. They don't always make linear sense, and it's a much more abstract experience. So it's more what it's making me feel on a more abstract level as opposed to logical reasoning. I mean, movies with stories are supposed to make you feel something. You have to have a protagonist you are behind, can root for. When they're in peril, you feel peril for them. But music doesn't work that way.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
By and large, I mean, you can have a story in a song like "Lion Eyes," where there's a definite story. It's definitely telling you, giving you a point of view. But you can have a song like "I Am the Walrus," where this doesn't make any sense at all. But I still love the song.
Yeah, it works. Yeah.
And so, I guess it is beyond just saying I liked this, I didn't like it. I think one of the hardest things is, why did I like it? Why did I not like it? When it's a movie, it's very easy to say, well, I saw this movie and there were a lot of things that were jarringly inconsistent about it. Here we had this drama, and all of a sudden the cast breaks into a song, but it's not a musical. And then it doesn't happen again. Why did they do that? I mean, was this a musical? No, one song does not make a musical. Why did they do that? It's jarringly inconsistent. You've got some characters that are very realistically portrayed, and then suddenly you've got a character that's completely over the top, cartoon-like, that feels like they walked in from a different movie. They don't belong there. It's jarringly inconsistent with the tone of the rest of the film. Now, with music, you could have a song that feels like maybe blues, but all of a sudden something completely jarring comes in, musically different. It could not work, but it also could work.
Could work, yeah.
Depending on how you do it.
Right.
It's, and as someone who has studied music theory and has taught music lessons, music theory is a set of rules for something that has no rules. But at the same time, film, while it has rules, can also not have rules. I've seen filmmakers break those rules, David Lynch being one of them. And some people don't like his movies because they do break those rules and they don't quite, and I don't want to say it derogatorily, they don't get it. That's not bad. It's just not for you. So it becomes very hard to know sometimes what the guideline is to say, this is why I liked it, this is why I didn't like it.
It's fascinating. I mean, it's like we could think about this and to the end of our lives and
drive ourselves crazy.
And drive yourself crazy. I mean, trying to, and like I said, even when I'll like there in like what I said, we try to champion groups. There's some groups that are very, very popular that I just don't get. I've seen them live. I've maybe watched them on Palladia, going, okay, maybe it's a day of the week. Then I've listened to their music and stuff, and I just don't get them. And that's one of the great things about our show is we can choose who we bring to the show. But somebody else on their show, they can bring forth those bands, and I'm sure a lot of viewers might like something you bring in, they don't like something I bring in, or vice versa.
I've read those comments on the channel.
But the great thing about music is it is very personal, and it's how you personally respond to it. And film's that way too. I mean, like, my favorite movie, somebody else might hate that movie, so that's fine.
I think one of the differences, though, is that, by and large, sure, nowadays, of course, we can watch movies at home. There was once a time the only way you could watch a movie was in a theater.
In the theater, hard to believe.
And people still like to go to the theater to watch a movie. They don't go to a theater to communally listen to music.
Yeah, that's right.
We go to a movie theater, and we all are kind of at that moment all tuned into the same experience as we sit in the theater. Even though maybe we're there with a couple friends, but we're there in a room with other strangers that we don't know. And we're all kind of, by and large, laughing where we're supposed to laugh. Getting scared where we're supposed to be scared.
Very, very,
But we don't communally listen to music. By and large, it's a personal thing. Although I do know there was a time when it was more common when a new album came out, before all this mass media, before the internet, when someone would say, "Oh, I got the new album by so and so. Oh, let me come over. We'll check it
Yeah.
out."
And that's
maybe
exactly
when
my
your friends
experience
would get
growing up,
together
yeah.
and they'd listen to an album together.
That's very true.
And check it out together and just sit there and listen. And
And I don't know if that happens so much now. I
I
don't think
do
it
not
does.
believe it does.
Yeah, I don't think it does. I think that's one of those things that how the delivery of media has
Yeah.
changed so much. But maybe the best hope is that people continue to respond to music.
Yeah.
And people continue like we do, continue to get excited by new music and new film. But
Yeah.
so,
And it's funny, we have all the patience in the world to sit in a theater, a darkened theater, and watch, of course, provided the movie's good,
Yeah.
watch a movie, from start to finish, but we don't have the patience, by and large, to listen to a song, even just a song, a 3.5 minute
Yeah.
song from start to finish. And I think that's because, like I said, there are those occasional songs, like a Beatles song, where the moment you first hear it, you like it.
Yeah.
But most songs, I think music is more complex, even shorter, 3.5, 4 minute song. Music is just, there's something about that's more complex. By and large, you have to listen to it a couple times before
Yeah.
you get it. I know Steely Dan, one of my favorite bands, I didn't get them at first, but my friend said, listen to it a couple times before you pass judgment.
Exactly.
And this was when I was in high school, and that was the first time
Yeah.
that I had taken that rule. Before that, it was either I grew up buying greatest hits albums because I'd heard these songs over
Yeah.
and over on the radio. They slowly seeped into my subconscious, so I knew I liked them.
Mm-hmm.
And by and large, I wasn't listening to albums. And he said, "You got to listen to Steely Dan," and so I did give it at least 3 listens. And by the 3rd listen, I was like, "Yeah, I'm getting this now. I'm digging this." And that was when I kind of started realizing, oh, albums,
Yeah,
not just greatest
yeah.
hits, albums.
Yeah.
But it took someone to tell me you got to listen to it
Yeah.
more than once.
Yeah.
And I think just by and large, most music is that way. I never would have been a Steely Dan fan otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why radio is so important to breaking music, because people need to hear it
Yeah.
a couple times,
Multiple times, yeah.
before they start to know if they like it
Yeah,
or not. And
yeah.
radio does that.
Yeah, exactly.
Radio accomplishes that.
Very true.
But yeah, I don't think we're never going to see people sitting in a room together in a darkened theater and just let them hear music over a loudspeaker.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there's
Back when I was a reporter at Cal State Fullerton, actually, they used to have these, and they still do that occasionally for really high-profile albums. I'll have journalists come down,
Uh-huh.
and then they'll play them the album once.
Yeah.
And sometimes the artist is there, sometimes they're not. And then you do have that immersive experience. But generally, you're going to hear it once. They might play it a couple times.
Yeah.
But again, that's difficult. I mean, you have to either be near Los Angeles, near New York, or something to get that. But like you said, it's such an anomaly. You just don't hear about that anymore.
and
And it used to be much more commonplace. Now they send you a watermark digital release that
Yeah.
that you better not share with anybody else, because
Yeah.
it has embedded your name and your information in it.
Yeah.
But it's just things have changed so much.
I mean, and I know there have been listening parties for new releases, but they're parties. People
Yeah,
are drinking,
yeah,
they're
they're
talking, they're
yeah.
socializing. It's playing in the background.
Yeah, it's playing
but
in the
we're not
background.
really listening.
Yeah, we're not really listening.
You
Like
know.
when you go to see a movie, hopefully you are really watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's that to me has been the hard. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this, not this episode, but this whole channel, why I wanted to do it with you, is because one of my main criticisms about music criticism that I was reading at the time was critics described the music, they talked about it, but they never said, "I liked this album and here's why,"
Uh-huh.
or "I didn't like this album and here's why," which I was getting in movie criticisms. Where people would say, "Yeah, I can recommend this movie. It's a great movie. And the reason I like this movie is because the characters were really interesting, and I liked the story that it told, and I liked where it emotionally went. It subverted my expectations. I wasn't expecting it to end this way. It was a real
Yeah.
great surprise twist ending. There's some reason why they like the film.
Yeah.
But in music criticism, people weren't saying, "I will recommend that you buy this album," which is what we do on the show.
Yeah.
And I like this album because of this. I
Yeah.
thought every track was good, or I thought most of the tracks were
Yeah.
good. The few I didn't like don't make a difference because
Yeah.
the rest of the album's really good. But just that basic bit of opinion,
Yeah.
I wasn't hearing in music
Yeah.
criticism.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
And I wondered, I don't know if this person liked the album or not. They just simply described it to me, but they didn't tell me if they liked it.
If
Movie
they were-
criticism, they say, "Yeah, I'm feeling this movie.
Yeah.
I'm into it."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, and different reviewers have different styles too,
Yeah.
and everything. Generally, what I've done, just like and the show's been a big part of that, is I say, I get so much music. I think the most important thing is bring to the fold stuff that you really want people to hear, that you're very impassioned and excited about.
Yeah.
You know, stuff that really, because there's a lot of music out there. A lot of it is good, but what is music that really makes you feel something?
Yeah.
And those are the movies that stand out too. When I look back on it, the movies that really make you feel something. You know, like we're both fans, I think, of the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, those movies, they're not only brilliant as far as their technical and the special effects and the music and stuff, but at their core, the people that are in there and what Peter Jackson did, those are amazing achievements.
Yeah.
You know, to cut through the clutter of all the things all the choices we have in entertainment,
Yeah.
to sit down for 3.5 hours,
Yeah.
3 times,
Yeah.
and be so moved. I mean, I'm still. Those are some of the biggest artistic achievements of the modern era, I think.
And at the core of it is the characters and where those characters took you.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think maybe if there's a parallel, it might be, as long as there are real musicians and it's not electronic.
Yeah.
It's the musicians and where they took you.
Yeah.
Musically,
Right,
when they
exactly.
performed that song, and then for an album, it's how did the album start to where it finished and how did it sustain you.
Exactly.
And I think that's kind of thing we, a while on one of our shows, you talked about an album by Don Henley where I said, I thought there were some real classics on the album, but it didn't sustain me from start to
Yeah,
finish.
yeah.
But the good songs are worthwhile.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's the difference between a great album and an album maybe that's not as great is how does it sustain you from track 1 to the ending. That's one way you can kind of judge an album.
I agree.
Which is
Yeah.
different from criticizing the song itself. It's how well does it sustain you. And even back in my early days, I would listen to an album. I decided, out of the 10 tracks, I liked 6. So I would cassette tape it to play in my car with the 6 tracks that I liked.
That you liked, yeah.
And I was listening at home. I just flipped the needle and go past the song I didn't care for.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I would do my own edit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess I don't know if people do that
or
anymore.
early version of iTunes, right?
Exactly. Now it's very easy to do.
Now very easy to do. You just download the
out of
tracks
the way.
you want or burn the tracks that you want to hear. Yeah. And so on the ultimate mixtape there, but
There you go.
yeah. Well, it's very fascinating. I think that this is a topic we could revisit, and we
I think
probably
so.
have different things to say on it. But maybe for today, we've kind of, I think we've either solved the problem or made it more perplexing. I don't know which one.
I think if anything, we've both given ourselves some food for thought as to how we can better verbally discuss and criticize an album, why we liked it, why we didn't like it, how it worked, how it didn't work for us. I think maybe we've given our own selves
Right, exactly.
A little bit more to go on as to how we
Right.
how we process
Yeah.
that emotionally
and
first,
how to impart that to the
and then
audience as
impart it
well.
out
Yeah.
verbally in
Yeah.
a way that makes sense.
Exactly. That's
You
well
know.
stated. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very good.
Well, if you have any thoughts or comments on this topic you'd like to share, please tell us, because we need all the help we can get here.
We definitely do.
No, but please share your thoughts in the comments on this, and anything you'd like to add to it, we'd love to hear. And just want to thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. And until next time, I'm TJR.
And I'm Robert Kinsler.
And if you have a topic for us, please let us know. We love getting your suggestions. That's where this topic came from. It was a suggestion. So we'd love to get your suggestions. All right. See you later.
See you later, everybody.
Bye.